Okay, picking up in question 24, put the following documents in the order that they were created. The Declaration of Independence came first. The Articles of Confederation came second. After the Articles came the U.S. Constitution. And finally, number four, the last one, the Bill of Rights. Question 25. Many of the colonial governments, all today's state governments, the U.S. government, the Canadian government, and many more governments are what we call democracies. What does that mean? What makes a government a democracy? Essentially, democracy means that people have a voice or a say in their government, that government power is limited, and that individual rights are protected. Moving on to the constitutional principles. So, popular sovereignty is the first one. This means that people are the source of all government authority. C, the president being responsible for the executing and enforcing of the laws. That's an example of separation of powers. The next one down, D, Congress must have a 2/3 vote in each house to override a veto. That's an example of checks and balances. The next one down is E, an amendment that is passed that lowers the voting age from 21 to 18 years old. That kind of reflects the idea of flexibility in the Constitution. The next one down is B. Congress shall make no law denying individual freedoms in the First Amendment. That's an example of limited government, limiting the powers of government under the Constitution. Finally, the bottom one, F. Educational requirements vary state to state. For example, we have Regents in New York. That's an example of federalism, different levels of government, different states having their own power and authority. Finally, question 27. How are some of the weaknesses of the Articles corrected by the U.S. Constitution? So under the Articles, states had most of the power and the national government had very little. In the Constitution, the federal government has more power and federal law is supreme. Under the Articles, there was no executive officer to carry out laws of the United States. So under the Constitution, we create the office of the president. Under the Articles of Confederation, 9 out of 13 of the states had a vote to approve a law. Under the Constitution, only a simple majority of each House of Congress plus the president has to pass a law, so it's easier to pass a law under the Constitution. Under the Articles of Confederation, 13 out of 13 states have to vote to approve an amendment to the Articles. Under the Constitution, amendments have to be approved by only 2/3 of Congress and 3/4 of the states. So again, under the Constitution, changing it or amending the document is easier. And finally, under the Articles of Confederation, Congress had no power to tax. Under the Constitution, the federal government does have the power to tax. That is it. Make sure this is completed and turned in for test day.